Reproduction in plants by understand easily. Questions may arise to your mind like how did we come into existence in the world? How is the population maintained on Earth? And how can living organisms live for so long? Well, this video is the answer to all your questions. Living organisms live for a certain period and then die. Then how is the population of living organisms maintained on Earth? It is by the addition of new organisms of the same kind through reproduction. Now, what is reproduction? The ability of a living organism to produce young ones of its own kind is called reproduction. There are two types of reproduction in plants, they are asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Let's first discuss the differences of these two types. The production of a new plant that involves the fusion of reproductive cells is called sexual reproduction, while the production of a new plant from a single plant without the involvement of the reproductive cells is called asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction involves two parents and produces offspring that are genetically unique, whereas asexual reproduction involves one parent and produces offspring that are genetically identical to each other and to the parent. Examples of plants that reproduce through sexual reproduction are wheat, rice, mustard and sunflower, and examples of plants that reproduce through asexual reproduction are spirogyra, potato, bryophyllum and ginger. So, as we know, plants that reproduce through a single parent plant, reproduce through asexual reproduction. Some parts of the plant like leaves, roots, and stems also help in producing new plants. This is called vegetative propagation. We will be learning this concept in the next video. In asexual reproduction, there are three types, they are fragmentation, spore formation and budding. We will be discussing them in this video. When an organism breaks into two or more fragments and each fragment develops into a new individual organism, it is called fragmentation. Binary fission is similar to fragmentation. In binary fission, the organism splits into two identical daughter cells, whereas in fragmentation the organism breaks into pieces or fragments. The pictures to the left show that fragmentation breaks the organism into pieces or fragments while binary fission splits the organism into two equal parts. An example of fragmentation is spirogyra. Fragmentation occurs in spirogyra, where one parent spirogyra cell breaks into two or more fragments to produce new organisms. Now let's move on to spore formation. As the name says, new organisms reproduce through round structures, called spores. These spores are found in a structure called the sporangium. When the sporangium bursts open, the spores disperse into the air. These spores are lightweight, thus they are easily carried to distant places by air, water, wind and insects. During favorable conditions, these spores germinate and give rise to new individuals.
The last type of asexual reproduction is budding. In this process, a small outgrowth called a bud grows on the side of the parent plant. This bud then detaches itself after growing completely to form a new organism of its own kind. Sometimes, budding takes place so fast that the bud starts forming its own bud while attached to the parent body. This forms a chain of buds. Yeast reproduces through budding.